I don't know.
Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Jason Tucker, and this is WPwatercooler, episode number 170. Today's topic is how to write a WordPress support request and not get it, thrown away, thrown in the trash, ignored.
It's a long title.
I know, man.
Bitch slapped back
Keeps
at
getting
you.
longer, too.
Let's go around the room real quick, get everyone introduced. We go in alphabetical order somewhat. Chris Lema, kick us off.
Hi there, I'm Chris, and I write over at chrislema.com, and I'm on the Twitters, and I lead or run the WordPress meetup here in San Diego.
Awesome,
And
man.
we also have a WordCamp that we're planning.
Ooh, nice. Dave, what about you?
I'm Dave. I'm a software engineer and CTO at SpectrOM Technologies, and we build plugins and e-commerce stuff.
Awesome. Cosper, how about you? Tell us about yourself.
Yeah, I'm Jason Cosper. I work at WP Engine as their developer advocate. I'm at Boogah, B-O-O-G-A-H on Twitter. Follow me.
Sweet.
Booga
Matt
booga.
Cromwell, tell us about yourself.
Hey, I'm Matt Cromwell. I run support at WordImpress.com and GiveWP.com, and I also run the meetup here in San Diego, a slightly different meetup than Lema, but still San Diego, still a meetup.
Awesome. Russ, what about you?
My name is Russ. I run the WordPress Vegas meetup group, WordCamp Vegas, and I started a little support company way back yonder and sold it for a little bit of money. So I know a little bit about the support game.
Nice. What about you, Sarah?
I am Sarah Weefald. I'm the production manager at Zeek Interactive, and I run the OC WordPress Design Meetup, which is the first Monday of each month, and our first meeting of the year will be in February.
Awesome. What about you, Say?
Oh, hello. My name is Say Reed, and I love WordPress, make WordPress, teach WordPress at Say Reed Media on all the things.
Nice. Suzette, what about you?
Hello, everybody. I'm Suzette Franck. You can find me at SuzetteFranck.com or on the Twitters, and I love everybody. Yeah. I couldn't think of anything to say, so there you go.
Awesome. What about you, Steve?
I am Steve Zengit. I'm the founder of Zeek Interactive, and I run the OC WordPress meetup.
Sweet. I'm Jason Tucker. You can find me Jason Tucker on Twitter. WPwatercooler, the show here. We do WP Blab, and we also do JasonTucker.us. Yep.
Pre-topic, little point of order, I would just like to say happy birthday to Matt Mullenweg. For some reason, that's in my calendar. I don't know why, but it is. So, yay.
Nice.
Way to grow up, buddy.
So all of us at some point in our careers have done some type of support, right?
Not me.
Well, yeah, you know. Steve doesn't do any of his parents' websites or anything like that, just because of this, right? Right, Steve?
No, I've done support. I was making a joke.
So because of that, you know, it sounds like a great topic to discuss here. Is like,
does it really?
It does, because how do you actually write a good support ticket and get the person on the other end to actually answer it and answer it the right way? You know, give you the answer that you're looking for.
You let Matt Cromwell do it.
I would say
I kind of object to the whole title, but you know, it's a really good topipic to talk about. But
well, we wanted to fit in as many SEO keywords as we could.
It's called clickbait, Matt. Hello. Don't use our screen.
Look, it worked for Matt. Matt showed up. Matt,
I know. I was like,
that's true. It did.
Holy crap! Why are they saying that we put all of our support into the recycle bin? Like, all right, let's talk about it.
One thing that I think, and we can obviously, there's a lot to get into here, but one thing I would like to say that you should not do is you should not start your support request by insulting the product or the person who is helping you or potentially help you. That is not the way to start.
Really?
Yes. I know it's been working for you, Steve.
No.
Especially in a group where there's over 3,000 users and that developer is probably in said group, you probably shouldn't lead off with, this plugin sucks because...
And also, it's not working is not a helpful piece of information for someone providing support.
That's kind of already known because you're submitting the support request, right?
Yeah, unless you're submitting a request to
You
be
need more
like,
details.
And if
This
you
is
are
so
a support,
great.
if you are a support engineer, the only proper response is thanks, Captain Obvious.
No. Have you tried
Oh.
turning it off and turning it back on again?
Yeah.
That's the,
or pipcac.
that's true.
Error
Yeah.
between chair and keyboard.
Problem exists between monitor and keyboard,
Keyboard
or chair
engine.
and keyboard, your face, whatever. It's your fault. Is the point
Problem
of that
exists
grid.
between your face and. Anyway.
Yeah, well, I mean, when I was learning
the back of
WordPress,
your head.
I filled out a lot of support tickets, and I also just spent a lot of time asking people at meetups for help on things that I had broken. And I always seem to get the best results by saying, like, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. This is what's happening.
Yeah.
This is what I have tried already to fix the problem, and now I'm stuck. So
Yep.
if you include those three things,
Wait, by being
people are more
inclusive
inclined to
and
help you.
And
kind
Yeah,
is really gonna help you.
and
That's
here's the exact steps to reproduce the issue.
Yeah.
Those
Well,
to
so-
reproduce are key.
so-
Those
so-
are really important.
So, Sarah, what you're saying, though, is you're saying that you were being specific in what you were trying to do to get a specific result, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Well, I
Because that
just,
never works.
I realized quickly that not everyone is as good at reading minds as I am.
Oh, that's true.
fair enough. Hey.
That's
Statistically, only half of the WordPress population is actually 100% psychic.
what?
I actually just exist as consciousness on the internet, so I'm kind of, superior in that way.
Transcend.
Well, I think to Sarah's credit, there are a lot of people that are looking for help, and they are kind of new users, and they'll just kind of jump in and say, hey, this plugin isn't working. Does anybody have an idea why? And that plugin, let's just say it's, whatever, Backup Buddy that has 1,000 options. You need to be a little more specific. I think that's where you always start.
And hosting environments also play a
Yeah.
big role in this.
They do.
Sometimes you can find that a plugin will work great in one host and not in another.
Yeah.
He says
I-
as WP.
I personally like tickets that start off by saying, I'm certain that this is my host's fault, but I wanted to ask you guys anyway. That's the ones that I answered the quickest.
Well,
Oh, and shout out to Desktop Server real quick for always answering my problems specifically with DreamHost. For whatever reason, DreamHost does not always like Desktop Server, but they always work it out for me anyway. So
It's always
I
been
think,
these popular things.
one of the most important things to do prior to posting a support ticket anywhere is to actually figure out who is responsible for that particular type of support. So, for example, if you have a plugin issue, emailing your host is not necessarily the right place to go to get that support, and vice versa.
Well, that could be hard to do if you don't have a whole lot of experience. You may not really understand which plugin, which thing is going wrong. You just know that something's wrong.
Right, but
Especially if you have a
do
white
know that.
screen of death.
If you do, yeah, that's great information.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you know that you turned something on, or if you know that a specific plugin is broken, and then you try to ask your host about it, your host is basically going to say, go ask that plugin developer. So in terms of functionality...
Not all hosts are created equally, because I find that WP Engine will actually take responsibility for pretty much anything that's going wrong with your WordPress site, even if it's not their responsibility.
I have a couple plugins
So,
I need to ask
try.
them to rewrite for me.
That can actually be really good, and that can also be really bad, because if you're educating your customer to think that everything is the host's fault and that the host is responsible for solving all your problems, you're creating a precedent that's not necessarily accurate.
Educating their
Or
customer
Steve
that
was
way.
a really excellent joke, which I think was the case.
No, actually, I was being serious.
I can tell the difference between
Yeah.
Steve's sarcasm and
We're not
yours.
used to Steve being serious.
That's the one skill set I have.
It took 170 episodes.
So,
Today's the day, though.
so what were? Go ahead, Chris.
The thing you probably don't want to start with is how much money you spent.
I hate that.
Yeah.
Oh, I paid this developer $10,000 and they ran out of town. No, I don't have any budget to fix my problem. So can you do it for free?
Well, they're hosting with $1.99 web hosting.
But I'm talking about specifically
I know.
if you bought a plugin for $19 or $29, if you were to do the math on what you think you deserve for that $29, right? it's likely not enough for the person to actually read what is about to be your long-winded rant in the email. So
isn't that about the equivalent of 3 cups of coffee at Starbucks?
So what happens is when you start with an email that's like, I paid $19 for this plugin.
It's an outrage.
Forrest.
And I can't believe that you won't do this one nuanced thing that I want that no one else ever does that should be core to your product, right? When you start with an indignant mode and you start with a price, you are often triggering a response from the vendor, not every vendor, but saying, look, there's an easy way to solve this ticket. Let me give you your $19 back.
Yeah.
and
Chris, if the whole crowd favorite thing doesn't work out for you, you'd be a great bad customer ghostwriter. You sound like exactly like.
But what happens is you don't realize, as a customer who's frustrated at the moment, you don't realize what you're really doing. You're sending the signal when you start with, I paid $19. You're sending the signal that the most important thing to you is your $19. And if that is what you mean to say, that's fantastic. But if there's a chance that's not what you mean to say, if what you really mean to say is, I'm having a problem and I need some help, but you lead in with, I paid $19 and I can't believe your plugin doesn't do this, then what normally you're triggering is them to say, well, here's your $19 back and good luck. And then you're really hosed because maybe that was the only potential solution you had with that product, and you just walked yourself away because you made the mistake, right? So
step one, quell your outrage.
So
Take a breath.
Step one is to ask your support questions 3 days from when the problem actually happened. Is what he's getting at.
I don't know that you can wait that, but first of all, you have to take emotion out of the situation.
Take a walk.
Yeah. Take a walk, calm your cheeks. Woo-saw, like.
So
Step
capital
one is
letters. Capital letters is the way to go.
Seen Bad
Serenity
Boys?
now.
You've never seen Bad Boys? Bad Boys Trio? Yeah.
So I guess maybe the first step of getting good support is the old Bill and Ted chestnut of be excellent to each other. Is that what?
Excellent.
Yeah,
You just said Bill and Ted Chestnut.
Gosh,
that makes me happy.
Well, Bill and Ted are the greatest philosophers of our time.
Okay.
They really are.
Jason.
Philosopher poets, yes.
They take a second place to David Bowie. Sorry. Okay.
Well, I guess technically that's actually Abraham Lincoln's advice via Ted and Bill, but yes, essentially.
Just be clear, okay?
I think that screenshots are also very important when you're trying to be very specific. If you can show me on a screen what's going on, I can say, oh, the problem is you're checking the wrong box. That would be so much easier than trying to figure out what it is you're trying to do, and that's why I use the plugin user switching, so I can switch as my person, and I can see their screen that they can see.
Yeah.
Also, on that note, there's a really good piece of software that's open source called LICEcap that allows you to make animated GIFs of your screen. So if just a screenshot won't do it, sometimes a little video will show like the error and everything. So that's really useful too.
Yeah, LICEcap is awesome.
Basically, screen caps of your issue that's happening, or and also error messages. If there's an error message that's being pushed out, copy the error message and paste that into your support request. Also, very important to explain what you were doing, the steps leading up to the problem, and what you were attempting to actually accomplish. Because just a problem in and of itself is really hard to diagnose if there's no context around what the problems, where it came from, what led up to it. That's very important.
I'm going to take a page out of Sarah's playbook, and that is open up the site that you're trying to test or where you've got the problem in an incognito window. So do that first, because that'll have no cache, it'll have no settings, no logins, so at least you're seeing it from a fresh set of eyes, technically speaking.
Steve, all the ads on my website aren't showing up, and it's for some weird reason. I don't know why. Oh, wait, I have my ad blocker turned on.
So you're saying open it in a separate thing so that your own settings aren't interfering with your...
Not a separate thing. In Chrome, it's an incognito window, or in Firefox, it's a private window.
Yeah.
Right, so that you're not incurring any of the settings or issues that might be local to your machine.
And like Jason said, something like ad blocker would not be turned on in an incognito window.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised how often that's a real thing.
It
Not
happens all
necessarily
the
ad
time.
blocker, but that you are causing your own problem, and it's not even a problem for other people.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, ad blocker might just be blocking some sort of JavaScript that you were expecting to load.
Yeah.
It's when you're talking about how to get a kind of submit a support item, you have to think through what's your overall goal, right? And this is whether you're doing it on the free forms at the repo for a free plugin, which by the way, it's a free plugin, right? You're also getting free support. You want to think that through before you start ranting and raving. But whether it's there or whether it's anywhere else. For hosting or a theme or anything else you're doing, your goal is to get help, right? So complaining or ranting or anything that isn't directly related to helping someone else help you is not going to be very useful. So you can open up an email and you can write all that you want to say and then never send it, throw it away, and you'll be good. But in the ticket that you're trying to write, focus on the things that will help you. And so what site, what's the URL? You won't believe how many people are complaining, and they never tell you where the site is. And you're like, dude, I know that you bought it from me, but if I don't have a system that tells me where it's located or what host it's on, I don't know this. And you're again, as a client, you're living in that site so often, you just assume that
everyone knows.
That's
Go back to being a mind reader.
Hey, Chris, can I get support for you? But I need you to sign an NDA first, please.
That's a great idea.
I've had that a few times where I've had people say, listen, we need your help, but we need you to sign this NDA. And I'm like, listen, I'm not trying to steal whatever business isn't going to happen in 20 minutes. Like, that's not my thing. But that happens quite a bit.
So,
yeah.
I was starting.
All emotion from your post in general is really what we're saying there. It has no place in it. It helps nobody. No one's interested in how you feel about it. Get your, just get the facts. Just the facts.
I was starting to go down the path of things you can do to determine if it's actually a bug that only you're seeing or that everybody else is seeing. And so we talked about an incognito window, but something, if you're hosted at WP Engine, you might look at WP status.com, right?
Yep.
Which or any host
which tells you if you're having all the no DPS attacks.
Yeah, are they doing maintenance? Is something else going on that everyone is experiencing? Or you can, if your site's just down, go to is it down for everyone or just me.com or
which is
whatever
shortened to isup.me.
Sorry, thank you.
Oh,
which is one of my favorite sites, along with Retrograde.com. So those are just really helpful right off the bat.
And actually, the answer to that question right now is yes.
Yes,
so
it
support
is.
tickets are probably going up.
So just so you know,
just saying.
Well,
it's probably Mercury that's causing your conflict. So I just want you to know that.
Matt, do you remember in the advanced WordPress group there was somebody recently who was talking about WP Engine not notifying when all the DDoS attacks were going on?
I actually think they may have been blaming WordPress. The WordPress core team is who they were blaming.
Well, but no, one of the guys said that he was very upset that he wasn't notified, and I think it was Matt who got Jason Cohen to write a thing, and he actually said, go to WPEngineStatus.com, and it will tell you what's going on. Like, you shouldn't have to send emails to 100,000 users when we have a status website built for you.
Yeah.
No, as far as when the DDoS attacks are going on, that's all the time, isn't it?
Well, I mean...
Well, this particular one was a little dramatic.
For me, I want you to stop protecting my site from DDoS attacks to send me an email about the DDoS attacks. That's what I want you to do.
Right.
That's also sarcasm. That was sarcasm.
Sure.
Okay.
Thanks for pointing that out.
Basically, you need to do a little bit of due diligence first. You need to make sure that it's not just something you have turned off. It's not just something that is a problem that is a known issue. Before you start going in and writing it up and spending your time writing up all of this stuff and doing screen caps. Make sure that it's not an obvious answer. And then said, turn it off and on, and then.
So far, like I think overall, if there's like an index card version of what we're saying, it's basically like, I love Sarah's be excellent to each other, and provide reproducible detail. That's how I would summarize like all the things that we're saying so far, is provide reproducible detail. Like for example, like what Chris was saying. I mean, like what Chris was saying, like not being able to provide the URL to my website. It's and like that. I mean, that's just a really simple thing. But like Russ was saying, screenshots, like all these things are all about the detail of the problem, so that the developer can actually reproduce the problem. That's the issue. It's not that I need this information to see it. It's not only being able to see it, it's being able to actually reproduce the problem so that I can fix it locally.
Yeah.
And what you don't want is to go through that hassle of having someone actually see your ticket and respond to it and have to ask you for those questions. And then you're waiting a whole nother cycle of them getting back to your ticket. So if you're able to give as absolute much information as you can in that first post, including error messages, screen caps, links, etc., then when that person, that support person, comes and looks at your ticket, they can start right away instead of saying, what's your website? And then you have to wait and give the website, and then what's the error message? And that just makes everyone madder on all sides.
There's a tool that would help with that too. There's a plugin called Debug Info that lists a whole bunch of information about the version of PHP, the version of MySQL, the version of what hosting environment you've got, all your plugins and their versions. So when you have compatibility problems with another plugin, that's really useful information.
Or you can also use supportdetails.com.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The other thing is, you're going to get into a place where you want to go into the details, and you absolutely have to, because without the details you can't reproduce. But my other caution is, back up away from the details and make sure that you're clear about your objective. What are you trying to, like, what's the context, what's the objective of what you're trying to do? Because I just wrote a ticket, for example, for the event calendar guys, right, and Modern Tribe, and it was a specific thing, and my point was, I found 2 bugs, right? I went at it in 2 different ways to solve one problem 2 different ways, but in both cases there was an issue. My point to them wasn't to say, look, you have to solve this problem in one of these 2 ways. Let me back up and explain. Here's what I'm trying to do. Now, if you have a 3rd way, I'm open to that. And what they did is they were able to come back and say, if you're going to do this, here's some extra little code you need to put in so that we can resolve it. So you don't just want to be focused on, this is how I want to use your tool, this is how I want to use the plugin or the theme or your host, this is how I want to do it, and you need to fix it this way. You want to back up and say, here's my objective, right? And let them say, your best approach to this might be to do this alternative approach.
And the answer also might be that our plugin doesn't do that.
Yep.
That's a feature request as opposed to a bug report.
Right.
Yes, but I paid $19.
So it has to do
that means I own you now.
I had a $19 and I was holding back. I was going to say it.
This means that Steve can be bought for $19.
Yeah, he really can, actually. If you wait a little bit, you can go
that's
a little
markup.
lower.
That's a markup from where I was at.
Yeah, that's like his retail. So.
I'm glad we cleared that up.
So basically, spelling out your goals in order to make sure that they can see what you're attempting to do is what you're saying, Chris. So that everyone knows and everyone's trying to solve the same problem. Because if you aren't clear about that, then the support ticket might be like, oh, that's just this other thing, and not actually understand what you're trying to accomplish. So I think that is a really great and important point because of what Chris said.
But
That's a hashtag. What Chris said.
And I also think you have a responsibility as the user of the product to go and review the docs. It may just be answered already for you, right? The last thing you want to do is the last thing you want to do is bug your support or bug an engineer for something that's already documented.
Anyone who does a support ticket and actually says, "Oh, I read this documentation article," I'm like, "Hallelujah! Let me answer your ticket right now. I'm so happy with you."
Yeah, now you want to spend $19.
They actually read something that I wrote. That matters.
Like earlier what I said about giving someone the steps that you've already taken. I would include in there. I looked at your article about blah. I don't think it covered what I'm trying to do.
Or the other tickets in the knowledge base as well.
I paid $19. I shouldn't have to read your documentation.
Yeah.
I owe you.
Another thing you want to make sure.
No, that's no good.
You have to also check, in addition to the docs, you also need to check existing knowledge bases and support tickets, because it's very likely that that question has been asked and answered, and you don't need to file a ticket and then wait for someone to then be like, it's over here.
If only there was some sort of search mechanism on the internet where we could find stuff really easily.
For that, oftentimes I try to use Google.
Jason would tell you, let me Google that for you.com.
You know what would be really great?
That should be like every support request answer is just let me Google that for you. That would be great.
It would be really great if I could get, like you don't have to post it on Twitter, but it would be great to get a list of plugins that you are using. So I could see that, like you have a date picker and you have like Gravity Forms and the MailChimp plugin, and I could just say that that's your problem. But a lot of people just say, here's my problem, and I don't know what they have installed on their site. So
yeah, that's part of what that debug info plugin will do for you.
Which is great.
Sorry.
That plugin is great as long as your site is up.
Yeah.
As long as you can actually get through to WP admin, that plugin is fantastic.
But one of the first things you're going to get back from a support engineer is turn off all your other plugins.
Yeah.
Tell us if the problem still happens.
Always the same thing. Yeah.
Do that as far as I can't even talk. Do that before you even send in the ticket.
What?
I was gonna say, Russell, there is a way to find out what plugins and what theme URL is using. If you go to what WPthemeisthat.com, it will tell you. I don't know how accurate it is. I don't think it does all the plugins, but it
doesn't do all the plugins.
Well, it's not going to show you if they have any in MU, or they're not going to show you, right? But it is a good tool. I will agree that I view the page source and I search for plugins and I see, but it would just be better to say, hey, I have a contact form issue, and the problem is I have 8 contact form plugins installed and activated. that would be so much easier than trying to just be like, well, your problem could be one of 8,000 things. Hopefully this helps. Have a good day.
Well, and oftentimes if you do that due diligence, you'll find out as you're saying it, you're like, I have a problem with the contact form plugin, and I have 8 others installed. Maybe I should do those.
Along the same lines of the site that Suzette mentioned, I also use BuiltWith.com.
BuiltWith is great. Yeah.
Love BuiltWith, yeah.
BuiltWith, awesome.
Cool story, bro.
Look at the time.
I kind of feel like what we're kind of coming around to saying is that just from the kind of a philosophical point of view, that when you come to somebody, anybody really, for help on something, and you detail like, hey, this is what I did. I took all of these steps to try and help myself, and I'm still having a problem. Can you help me? People are going to be a lot more inclined to help you with better quality and probably more quickly, because they feel like, okay, this person has really put the effort in to do this themselves. There's probably something here that I did incorrectly, so I want to fix this. And
instead of just being... Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, no, just as soon as you set that expectation, just psychologically, you're going to get better help. And you're also going to be a better person, and the world will be a better place.
I do still want to qualify that whole thing of like that support is going to be more eager to help, because it's like that, like the whole title of the whole thing, like the support should be able to respond to you no matter what, and they should be able to actually address your question no matter what. Yeah. But most likely, if you haven't provided the information necessary, then they're going to be like, well, now I need all the information that's necessary to help you. So that's the real thing. Like, you should be able to expect a timely response no matter what.
No, you should not necessarily be able to expect a timely response from a free plugin.
I'll say from
that's not guaranteed.
But
so if you're trying to get help, especially from something that you haven't paid for, you have to go and kind of take that extra step and do as much as you possibly can, because otherwise you're just basically being a taker.
But Matt, you are correct that yes, a support person should just be able to help at all times, but they're humans doing this, and if humans don't like to get crapped on by random people all hours of the day. It's just the human condition.
But let's also say
there's like a forward takeaway from this. Mm-hmm. Be detailed, be human. Seriously.
Be detailed, be human.
Be human.
Good job.
Be excellent to each other.
Be excellent to each other.
Right?
And be excellent in your documentation.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Steve, you had one last thing?
Well, yeah, what I was going to say is we talked about expectations there. I just want to say not all WordPress companies are created equally. hosts, plugins, themes. They're not created equally. So support's going to vary. And to me, support is what sets a good company apart from a great company.
Yes.
And it's not WordPress's fault necessarily. So
It's not.
Don't go blaming the core.
No,
Well,
but it is probably Steve's fault.
Probably.
Halfway up. I have one last thing to add to this entire thing is that the forums for WordPress.com, WordPress.org, those are ran by volunteers. Be nice to the volunteers that are helping out in the community and such. Make sure you do that. Anyhow, this is Jason Tucker. This is WPwatercooler. Make sure you go to our website, WPwatercooler.com. Click on the links there. If you are watching us on YouTube, click the little thumbs up button. I'd love to see some more of that. If you enjoyed this, subscribe and share. Thanks. Bye-bye.
That like button's not working for me. Should I send in a support request?
Thank you.